Hello, everyone. I'm Solita Grant, and I want to welcome you to the Unleash Your Brilliance Summit, where we aim to bring you tools and techniques to motivate, to inspire you, to let you all know that you have brilliance inside. And when you touch that brilliance, you can create wonderful things in your life. So, our guest today is Becky Davidson. Thank you so much for being with us, Becky.
Thank you.
Becky spent 40 years in sales and marketing and sales leadership. She built numerous businesses selling products and services both to business and business to consumer, and leading and mentoring hundreds in the process of sales. Her passion is helping both struggling and striving sales professionals not only to fall in love with their businesses, but to create a marketable skill set and to increase effectiveness in sales. She led multiple sales organizations and along the way received awards and achievements such as Rookie of the Year, Top Salesperson of the Year, Team Leader, Sales Manager, and won numerous sales incentives, earning 6 free cars, wow, and a top recruiter along the way. The most impactful time of her life was spent at the Dale Carnegie sales course. She first went through as a student and then ranked second and was asked to come back as a graduate assistant to help train. She spent 6 months in person once a week studying and teaching the course. And she also trained through the John Maxwell Leadership Academy and training with Dale Hardy. Over the past 20 years, she has led and trained thousands of individuals and was most passionate about passing on practical skills to other people. So thank you so much, Becky, for joining us. So tell
Thank you for having me.
tell us a little bit about your life and what it is that you do and how you found your brilliance in it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I love sharing my journey and love talking about sales because I've been in sales for over 40 years. I have to calculate it. It's probably like 43. I started at 19. I'm 61 now, so you know
Wow.
how old I am. But I have spent my entire life, my entire career, really studying ethical influence and the psychology of selling. And it is something I find very fascinating because, quite honestly, we all sell. We all sell in our marriage. We sell with when we're parents to our kids or when we're kids to our parents. We sell every day in every way. And really, what is sales? It's relationship building and ethical influence. And just to kind of give you a little background on how I got started in sales, is when I was growing up, we moved a lot. I was very introverted and very shy. And so sales was not the logical solution for me to get into sales. That's not what you anticipate a shy, introverted person doing, right?
Right.
Most people assume that the outgoing extrovert is the person that does sales. And that's really why I got into sales at 19. I went to 1 year of college and I was at that place where it was like, what should I do with myself? What kind of career do I want? And my stepfather at the time, who was a very impactful person in my life, he had been in sales and I saw his personality. I saw how people naturally gravitated towards him. He was comfortable to be around. I liked his style. I liked that people just really enjoyed him. And so I thought, man, I didn't like being shy. I didn't like being an introvert. So I thought, what better way to learn how to communicate with people than to get into sales and force myself out of my comfort zone? So it's been a journey of self discovery. It's been a journey of learning because I'll be honest, who starts at 19 shy, introvert, and become great at sales? No one starts great at sales. You have to learn to and develop yourself to become great at sales or to become good at sales. And so it was a struggle early on to really get out of my head, to really build my confidence to do some of the things because it was way outside my comfort zone. But we persevered, and now I'm teaching others to do the same.
Well, that sounds wonderful. But many people are really having to cope with self-doubt. Did you
Mm.
ever have that experience, and how did you overcome?
Absolutely, absolutely. And mindset is one of, I always say in sales, there's three pillars to sales: mindset, skill set, and action. And you have to manage all three of them. If one of them is out, I mean, it's like the three-legged stool. If one of them's missing, you're going to tumble over. So you really have to manage all three of those. And I love talking about mindset because I've spent my entire life working on my mindset because I have always been that person that beat myself up, had self doubt, got in my head about things. And it's been a battle my whole life to persevere in spite of the doubt and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That was really kind of my motto, at certain times. And absolutely, sales is the one profession we win by failing 70 to 80% of the time.
Wow, I had no idea that those kind of ratios were in place. So, what I hear you saying is that even though you feel that self-doubt, what you want to do is click into that mindset that allows you to essentially sell yourself in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I have studied I mean, I've studied mindset. I have studied personal development. I've studied things. I mean, I have over 400 personal development books. I have been a student of personally developing myself because I knew I had to. And I had to be a positive person and I had to put that in my brain. And so part of it was reading inspiring books and reading inspiring stories, being on podcasts like this. And I had a motto that was, if someone else could, so can I. If
That's
someone else could, so can I. And I would say that to myself: if someone else could learn this, so can I. And so, some people are a little more naturally gifted by maybe being outgoing, but I'll be honest with you, being introverted is actually a blessing in sales.
really, that's
So
interesting.
so sometimes the thing that we think might be our curse or might be like, oh, I wish I was more outgoing, I wish I was more this or that, can actually be our blessing and our best thing about us.
So it seems like one of the things that we really want to stress is that idea of how you communicate to yourself.
100%, 100%. Well, I know it's really easy to get in your brain. I mean, we live with our brain. That's the only thing we live with 24/7.
Right.
And I always say that we have a bully in our brain. Our bully in our brain is there to play devil's advocate. Oh, what if this happens? Oh, what if that happens? What if this happens? Ooh, you better not say it that way. They might not like it. So, I mean, it plays that devil's advocate and it's sometimes louder than others. And so for me, I found personally how I quiet my bully in my brain because it still pops up. I mean, I still have it, jump in my head and talk to me. um, but I created something called graffirmations,
Uh-huh.
and that it was a blend of gratitude, affirmation, and prayer. And I write 10 of those a day. And I always tell people, and this is one of the things I coach my clients, is speak to your mountains, speak to your fears, speak to your desires, and speak to your expectations of what you want to happen. And when you speak to it with gratitude, you can't have fear. Fear and gratitude cannot cohabitate. When you live with an energy of thankfulness, and even the most horrific things that can happen in our life, we can always find a shred of gratitude. I know you went through some horrific stuff this last year, but I'm sure there's some really great thankfulness that you have in spite of, I mean, you've overcome it. You've had
Yes,
great doctors, you've had opportunities.
absolutely. And that concept of
So
developing
even though it was,
resilience.
yes. And so when you shift your brain from, immediately the habit of going to the negative thoughts, which is kind of the bully in our brain telling us the negative thoughts, but instead look for the positive, look for the lesson.
Right.
Because even if something didn't happen the way you wanted, there was a lesson in the activity.
You're absolutely right. And I think that actually helps you to come to a place of clarity.
Mm. And just comfort, because I think so many people have perfectionitis. They want to be perfect. They're not going to take action till they have all the green lights are there. They're not going to leave their house till all the green lights. Well, if we waited for every green light to be on, we'd never leave. And that's what happens to people and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs is they want to overthink, overdo, learn, study, and be perfect before they take action. And you know what? Sometimes messy action, well, I always say imperfect action always, always, always trumps perfect inaction.
Oh, that's such an important part because that idea of becoming actively involved in the creation of our lives is just a key thing that everyone needs to really focus on.
Absolutely. And for sales, I say mindset, skill set, and action. And you know what? When I was not great at sales, and when my mind was getting in my way, I just focused on the action. Just take action. Swing the bat. If you swing the bat, even if you're not good, even if you're not great at it, if you swing the bat, you can occasionally get a hit.
I think the key element that you're talking about is the consistency.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And that's the other thing. And I do find, well, then part of that problem with people is that expectation of perfectionism. And so when they expect to be perfect, and then they try something, it doesn't feel good, and they stop, and then they try something, it doesn't feel good, and they stop. And the one thing I learned and I've become, and it's my superpower, because I mean, I'm not, extremely smart or extremely outgoing or anything else, but I am ruthlessly consistent. I will do it and do it. And then I analyze it and test and tweak. So don't just keep doing, bad,
Same thing.
inappropriate behavior or, something that's not working. Don't keep doing that over and over again. Do it and analyze it, evaluate it. And I'm a master of test and tweak. Take action, evaluate it, make some tweaks. Take action, evaluate it, make some tweaks, and keep going. And that's how I built my career is test and tweak.
So, could you give an example of something that would show test and tweak?
Well, in my case, a lot of it stems around communication because in sales, we're communicating. And so, prospecting, for example, reaching out to people, booking appointments. Even when I started just a handful of years ago, when I started with social selling, I did a lot of social selling, and that's talking to people in the DMs, talking to strangers. And I did it wrong. I mean, but I did it. But in a lot of cases, I had people that were like, no, go away. No, I'm not interested. And I got negative responses. And it's like, okay, I don't like the feel of that, but I don't think reaching out to people is wrong. Just like years prior, I had to do cold calling and book appointments over the phone, and I couldn't book my way out of a wet paper bag. I mean, I would call people, they'd hang up, they would say, "Oh no, I'm not interested," and I was like, "What am I doing wrong?" I could have just gave up and said, "Okay, I guess it's not for me," or I could say, "Okay, what tweaks can I make? What adjustments can I make to my language that will get the response that I want?" And so that's the kind of test and tweak I did. And then as I tweaked it, I became a booking machine. I could call almost anyone on the phone and get an appointment booked. And I was like, and I loved calling and booking appointments because I became really, really good at it. And so even when you take action and you don't feel like it's your best action or your most skilled action, consider it practice. Just like if I was a baseball player and I wanted to be a home run hitter, my first at bat, I'm not going to hit a home run. I may not even hit the ball, but you don't quit because you missed it one time. You don't quit just because you missed it 10 times. You keep adjusting your stance, adjusting your swing, get a coach to teach you, and you just keep practicing until you get in your lane and you get what works.
So, what you're demonstrating now is a quality that I would call resilience, that
Yeah.
ability to fall down, pick yourself up, and get up. How do you think you learned that?
Well, I had my mother was a very resilient woman and a very strong woman. So I think I was bred into a little bit of resilience through my family and my upbringing. And we did move a lot. My mom was very divorced. I think there was a little bit of my background that bred some resilience into me. But if you do say you want to be in sales, for example, if you're not resilient, it's going to be a struggle because you just have to know it's a process. And even like I said, it's the only profession that 70 to 80% of the time you're failing. You're getting it. You're hitting. You're swinging at the ball and you're missing, and you're missing, and people tell you no, and there's a lot of rejection in it. And that's why the mindset is so powerful because when you get told no, you can either crumble. And early on, I would take it personal, and I would get really upset by it, or think that, oh my gosh, I did it wrong. But one thing that I learned, and I think we can apply this to any profession or anything, marry the process, divorce the results.
So explain that. That's a really good line, but explain that.
So many times, like in sales, for example, everyone, oh, I need more sales. I need to close more sales. I need a new client. I need to make money. I need clients. I need clients. Well, the clients and closing sales, excuse me, is the result. And that's the result we want. But what I teach my clients what to do is how to focus on the activity because you can only control what you can control. The other thing I always say, control the controllables. So I can't control if someone says, yes, I want to work with you, Becky, but I can control messaging Zolita and say, hey, Zolita, how have you been? I'd love to connect with you. Tell me about your business. I can control how many times I talk to new people. I
Yes,
can control
absolutely.
how many appointments I get on my books. I can take control of how many appointments I hold a week. I can control all those things. And if you do those things and then test and tweak as you go, the results spit out in the end.
So, Becky, I really love this idea of taking what you're talking about as sales and applying it to living life. Because in a way, we are all selling ourselves into the world. And so these
Mm-hmm.
ideas that you're presenting about being really focused on the things that you can control and manage and letting the other things go and really focusing on what is your messaging to the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that was the thing that early on I struggled with because I would beat myself up on the results because it was like, oh, if I would have been better, if I would have done better, or oh, I did. And because I was really efforting really hard on the results, it made me more pressury, more determined, more desperate almost. But when
Right.
I took my pressure off of the result and just focused on what I can control and enjoying the process, enjoying the action, and not worrying about the result, as long as you perfect the skill, then the result will take care of itself. And you don't have to worry if someone's a yes or someone's a no or what the outcome is. The outcome, yeah, you want to test and tweak. I always want to bring the best outcome I can, but I'm not going to beat myself up about the outcome because I have no control over that.
So, how did you stop beating yourself up? Because this is a challenge that many people have.
Well, I think getting it in my head that when I have fun, when I focus on this other thing happens and stop worrying about the other thing. And so I just think I learned that because when I was focusing on this, it was almost like I was chasing it and it was running away from me.
So, it's
And I
like
think
being
in
in
life,
the process, it's being in the process of life, not
right.
being really anxious about how it turns out.
Yeah. And I think I've had a lot of people say, oh, it's kind of like dating, right? And I go, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, it's been a long time. I've been married 30 years, 31 years. But, you get the vibe of back in the dating day, or if anyone's dating, when you are, oh, I really want this person. Oh my gosh. If you're chasing after someone, they're running away from you.
Right.
And so you can either lead your life or you can try to chase it. But if you lead something, just like if you have a string on a table, if I try to push that string, it's not going to go where I want it to go. But rather, when you lead it, you pull it in the direction you want. And so I really felt that having great conversations and perfecting my skill around the actions, I was leading people to decisions. I was leading my life. I was leading my business instead of trying to push it and chase it and trying to make it go in a direction I wanted it to go. And it, I just always had a lot more success. And when you do it enough and you're like, oh, this works easier this way. And so I just over time learned it. Now, every now and again, I can get in the mode, of, oh my gosh, chasing it. And every time I do that, my sales suffer, my mindset suffers, and I just have to remember. And that's where the graphimations really come in. When you write those graphimations every day, I am thankful to, to focus on my actions, and I'll say, hey, I'm thankful to have 10 appointments this week. And so really, share it in your graphimations, because then it keeps it top of mind. The things, you got to keep the main thing the main thing, and the main thing is the actions that lead to the results.
That sounds
Just like with working out. I mean, if you want to get a sleek, six-pack abs and a sleek body, there's really only one way to do it. You got to take the actions. Just got to be ruthlessly consistent on the actions. Maybe test and tweak, maybe get some new positions and styles and training to get it, dial it in, but it's not going to happen overnight. You got to focus on the actions, the results will come.
I think that's really an excellent idea. And it brings into mind the concept of having habits. Like when you talk about your graphimations, that's a habit that you have in your
Yep.
life that helps keep you on track.
Yep. Yeah.
Have,
And, a lot of people set themselves up with bad habits,
yes,
useless habits.
yes, yes. But when you have
And
productive habits, then those become automatic behavior.
yeah. And stinking thinking is a habit too. I mean, waking up with self-doubt and beating yourself up, that can become a habit. Because I mean, my mom was a perfect example, rest her soul. She's not with us now, but she had a tendency to have a little bit of a negative mindset. Like, oh gosh, well, this is gonna happen. Oh, and I'm like, Mom, chill out. We don't know that.
Right.
and and so her mind would immediately go to all the things that could possibly, all the negative things that could happen. And if you don't like something in yourself, and there's a lot of things I didn't like in myself, because I could be that person too, you have to fix it with intentionality.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not going to accidentally fix itself, I promise you.
Right. Right. And so that idea of like having self-assessment and deciding what it is that you want and then working on your mindset. And you mentioned three things: mindset, skill set, and what was the third?
And action, mindset, skill set, and action. I mean, you got to have the mindset, you got to have the skill set, but if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen.
Absolutely. And you brought up the point that imperfect action is better than perfect non-action. And
Correct.
I think those are key takeaways that we want our audience to have today.
Yeah. Yeah. The only way, in fact, with my clients, a lot of times I'll tell them, don't beat yourself up. If you hold appointments and they don't go quite the way you want, and maybe you go, oh, I forgot to do this or I forgot to do that, don't worry. The only way to get better is practice. And the only way to
Mhm.
practice is to hold appointments. And that's, there's millions of people in the world. So, okay, you had one bad appointment or two bad or 10 or 15, 20. I mean, I've had probably 20 over 20,000 appointments in my life and in my career, or 10,000 to 20,000. I don't know. And were they all great? Heck no. I had a lot of bad ones. But that's the only way to get to good is through the practice and through the doing and through the resilience and through the test and tweak and be aware and self-assess. Don't, oh, I do that. I do that. There's a lot of people that don't want to look inside and see what they need to fix.
So I think you're a wonderful example of just the kind of people that I want to bring to our audience, where you found essentially a place of brilliance and you've learned how to use tools and techniques to really reinforce that through your life. If you had one message that you could really give to our audience, what would that message be?
I guess learn and grow, learn and grow. We never arrive. I have another saying. I have a lot of sayings, but I always say we don't hop from mountaintop to mountaintop. We don't hop from win to win, success to success. It's in the valleys we grow, and life is full of ups and downs. And you have to ride it. We have to ride it out. We have to learn and grow and never stop. Another saying I always say is school's never out for the pro. We have got to, as long as my feet are on this earth, I will be personally developing myself, and
That's
everyone else should be too.
That's such a wonderful thing. And I really want to challenge everyone in our audience to take these messages for heart that you need the mindset, you need the skill set, and you need action. And that life is always about learning and growing. So, Becky, thank you
Awesome.
so much for joining us today. And I really appreciate you for coming on to and talking to
Thank you.
our audience. And all of
Thank you for
Becky
having me.
Thank you. And all of Becky's information is in the speaker portal, and I encourage you to contact her on Facebook. Would you like to mention your Facebook group?
Yeah, I have a great group. It's called Empowered Entrepreneurs Sell More. And I apologize for the cough. I told Zolita, I was like, I hope I can get through it without a cough. But yes, you're welcome to join my Empowered Entrepreneurs Sell More. Connect with me. I love connecting and learning from people, and I would be happy to connect with you.
And you also have speakers on different Saturdays that you bring in.
Yes, I do have Super Saturday summits. And Zolita was one of my summit speakers. We do them every other Saturday. We do them on mindset and money. We do them on business growth and on wellness. So if you fall into one of those categories, again, connect with me. Look up my group, Empowered Entrepreneurs Sell More. We would love to feature you. It doesn't cost anything. I really love, I mean, I'm 61, so I've been doing life a minute. And it's not about the money for me. It really is, building connections and building opportunities and inspiring people and bringing value to others because we are in this all together. And so I want to serve others. And if I can help you, just let me know.
Thank you so much, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.